Ladies and gentlemen, what is going on? Welcome back to another episode of No Place Like Homaha. I am Nick Kendrickson. Alongside me is Dr. Love, and Josh officially hates us.
Doesn't love us. Yeah, he doesn't love
Does
us.
not
Correct.
love us. Normally,
Yep.
it's me that is not doing the loving on the
hmm
guys, but
hmm
it is Josh today.
hmm
So,
Drilled that one.
yep, he did. But that'll also be me in a couple of weeks because I'm going to Wyoming on a trip. But
Jesus
that's not
Lord.
for a while. So.
He's new. Whatever.
College baseball this weekend. The SEC got into a gauntlet and a dogfight. Georgia Tech pulls off a couple of big wins and wins the series against Virginia.
hmm
Georgia continues to hit home runs like nobody's business, and as does a certain two-way player from Florida by the name of Caglione, who has now
Never heard of him.
homered. I know he's a tough guy to lay down on that one, but he's got 9 homers in 9 straight games. No other major league player has done that. Ken Griffey Jr. was at 8, I believe, is what I saw. But he's got 9 straight games with a nuke.
Was that as of Sunday?
That was as of Sunday, yes, I believe.
That's pretty
So,
rad.
yeah, and Florida kind of picking it up a little bit.
Maybe they just need to get dropped out of the top 25 real fast.
Yeah, I know, and that's kind of weird. Like we kept talking about it earlier, where Florida was just having their big kind of sequence of not being able to close out midweek games, but they've been slowly trying to climb their way back to it. But we got some new rankings here that came out today. This is officially as of D1 baseball. The top 4 pretty much stayed the same besides swapping Tennessee and Kentucky. So Texas A&M still remains the number 1 team in the country after beating Bama in the series this weekend. Arkansas, Tennessee, Kentucky, that game, that was a fun series to watch. Kentucky and Tennessee were going pound for pound in a
Hmm.
heavyweight match on that one, but Tennessee ends up sweeping or taking the series 2-1. Then Clemson, Duke, East Carolina, Wake Forest, Oregon State, and Florida State round out 5 through 10. Going down the rest of the list here from 11 to 20. Vanderbilt, UC Irvine, Coastal, Virginia, North Carolina, Arizona, Louisiana, the good old Raging Cajuns, Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, Georgia, and then from 21 down to 25, NC State, Oregon, Bama, South Carolina, and then breaking into the top 25 for the first time this season, who was a regional host last year, Indiana State, the good old Sycamores.
Yo,
New
think
new face.
I've seen none of those games from them.
I have not seen it either, but Indiana State leading their conference right now. They're 29-8 overall on a total, but so far looking through here, the SEC just has dominance over the top 25, which is typically normal throughout
Yeah,
how the year
but then
goes.
you look at LSU and it's not.
No, the Tigers are sitting very, very low in the SEC standings.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
They're
for a
not doing well. They're 5-13. They're 25-16 overall, which is decent, but they don't know how to play baseball in the SEC. It seems. I'm
well,
kidding, but
and when you look at it too, like the SEC, when it comes to like dominant teams, Kentucky has so far been the team besides A&M as well to only stand out. Tennessee was the second other team to give them a loss in conference play. The first team being Missouri back earlier in the start of conference play, because coming into the weekend, Kentucky was not only, but they were 14-1.
yeah, you got that, and the other crazy thing is you only have 2 teams in that entire conference that are below 500 overall.
Who are those 2 teams?
Missouri and Auburn's a game behind 500.
Well, and you look at the Missouri team this year, Missouri has not been playing bad baseball. Like they've been a tough team to compete with in the SEC for kind of your lower set of the bar.
Yeah, you just have an absolute freaking behemoth over. It's like the AFC. It's like the AL East in the
Yeah,
majors.
the
Absolutely.
SEC is there.
I don't even know. I mean, the Big Ten. I don't even know if it's the Big Ten or the Big 12. Then after that, maybe the ACC
I would probably
in
say
terms of competitiveness.
breaking it down, looking at it, I would say the ACC would probably be your next competitive conference because you got Clemson and Duke sitting there rounding out 5 and 6. Florida State is hopped up in there. They dropped back a couple of games after this weekend series, and then um, you also got Virginia in there who played a hell of a series against Georgia Tech, but Georgia Tech ends up taking that series with Chase Burns again hitting nukes. I believe he's at 20 this year, or if not 17, I think is what it was. But And then you got NC State as well playing good baseball. They hopped in after not being ranked. So the ACC, I would probably say, would be your next one. But I mean, if you look at the Big 12, though, you got Oklahoma and Oklahoma State kind of duking it out. They were, or Oklahoma not ranked coming into this week or coming into this past weekend, and now they're sitting up at 18 at a 24-14 record. Oklahoma State 26-14. So, but those are the only two Big 12 teams in.
Yeah. Is West Virginia no longer in it?
West Virginia got knocked
They got
out.
bounced.
Yep.
Bounced.
West Virginia got bounced. Virginia Tech got bounced, and Old Dominion was receiving votes, but they also got bounced.
As they should be receiving votes, but they're not in the Big 12.
They're not in the Big 12. But
No,
I
they're
mean,
in the Sun Belt.
looking around the league, though, I mean, you kind of coming into this midweek or this, I should say not midweek, but middle of the season. I mean, looking at it, teams are starting to get tougher. And if you've kept batting averages this long, like, I hate talking about the SEC so much, but you look at a team like Kentucky, and I watched a little bit of their games this weekend against Tennessee. To me, this is a complete ball club. Granted, yes, they have a couple of slip ups here and there, and Tennessee is also a very, very strong complete ball club. But their top five or their top guys in their lineup are hitting over 300 for Kentucky. You got Nick Lopez, who's hitting 390. You've got Walden Schmidt, who's hitting 359. The man can just hit it around the yard. Lopez also has 14 doubles on the year. And then you go down to Ryan Nicholson, and then guy who really kind of laid it on this weekend was Emilien Petrie from Canada. But he's hitting 305. But if you look at he's got 36 runs, 46 hits in total, 14 doubles, a triple, 5 bombs, and then 38 RBIs leading that Kentucky lineup. So I mean, this Kentucky team is a team that if you put that ball anywhere near the strike zone, they will make you pay for it. And they also dropped down a couple of bunts this weekend as well that were clean.
What did you love to hear with the small ball? I mean, if you're just going based off stats, I think it's something to say that Mr. Charlie over here, is 31 points ahead of the next closest guy in terms of BA. And then you have the guys every year who hit 450 plus.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like normally it's like there's like one guy in the Power Five that does it, and then you got like the little schools. So like these top 10, like you got Georgia, and then you got Arkansas, Pine Bluff, Duke, Rutgers, Oregon State, and then you got Nichols, Incarnate Word, Wofford, Northeastern. Like I don't know if it's interesting to see like Charlie Condon, who's SEC, like elite
Mm-hmm.
conference stuff, and just hanging around and just slanging that thing. Everybody else in here that's Power Five is either ACC or Big Ten.
And I mean,
yeah.
Well, and looking at that too, it's like there was a tweet that I saw when I was at the gym earlier where it was I believe it was Wilson from or Mason Miller from the A's throwing 103 miles an hour, and they said that he's from D3 baseball. It's like you can't leave out those smaller schools because I mean, look at Indiana State. They were a regional host last year, and now they're hopped back into the top 25 playing the same type of ball that they were at the end of the year last season. You can't just negate these guys.
The biggest thing, this might be a hot take, but like realistically, hitting is still the hardest thing to do in baseball, right?
Mm-hmm.
And even just to be at like even the conferences in which you play in, like you're gonna see dudes who can carve you up, or they have movement that's crazy. But I feel like the biggest thing between the conferences probably has to be the defense, right? Because like hitting is hitting. I mean, maybe power.
That's an interesting way of looking at it. Yeah.
Like Power Five are all aspects of the game, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then the lower conferences, like you're gonna have to like you still have to throw it in the strike zone. The guys still have to hit it, but it's just a matter of are you gonna have guys that are gonna be able to run balls down in the outfield,
mm-hmm.
or lay out for a ball in the infield and be able to stop them. I don't know if that's even an accurate statement, but I don't know.
I'm gonna go with it is an accurate statement because I mean you look at the way that East Carolina plays, for example, non-Power 5 team, but they seem to find their way into the regional every single year. Now they come up a little bit short when it comes to bullpen and not being able to get big key outs when they need to, but defensively, they've been one of the strongest teams I've seen in the regionals for the last 6 years. And you look at a
Mhm.
team like it was on Twitter, I believe it was Oakland facing like Eastern Kentucky or something like that. But there was a ball hit to the track, guy goes up, I think it was the left fielder goes up, tries to rob it, and it bounces off his glove, comes back in, and the center fielder literally lays out on the warning track and catches the ball.
I seen that.
Best play I have ever seen defensively, but it's like you get some of these guys that are so, or some of these teams that are so overlooked. And I think the defensive part is a huge thing. Because when you look at some of these teams that make it, that aren't the Power Fives, that are vying for a bid by winning their conference, some might sneak in based on ranking or whatnot. Southern Miss is a great example. Old Dominion's a great example. They have such good defensive cores where they're not making errors a lot of the time. West Virginia is another one. West Virginia hardly had any errors last year, and look at where they ended up.
Mm-hmm. It feels like almost that the the bigger schools will take the bigger. I don't know if you say I want to say bigger names because there's not like there's huge names in ML or in NCAA, but it's almost like they're gonna take the dudes that like the starting pitching guys, the dudes that
Mm-hmm.
rate over defense and like pinpoint accuracy. Like they want the dudes that'll throw 107
Yeah.
or like just I don't want to say flashy, but whereas the smaller schools they're gonna take the dudes that actually fit their program that do the little things
Mm-hmm.
well. I don't even know if that's a metric that can be. I mean, I'm assuming you can probably compare it.
I would say that you can because I mean, look at Coastal's run back in I believe it was 2014 when they won it all. They had one of the most when you looked at it on paper. That team never probably should have been there. That team was not the greatest when it came to power numbers, when it came to um, stealing a lot of bases, but they played lights out when it actually mattered because they were a team that was so. By the time it got to that point, by the time they were sitting in Baton Rouge at the box, they were doing everything right. They had guys that were hitting for contact. They had guys that were hitting in key situations. Their pitching staff came up big because you don't see a lot of guys that are in the Power Five conferences so crafty and have to actually be so pinpoint. You get guys that are throwing like, um, what was it, Ben Joyce for Tennessee a couple of years ago, where he was throwing 104, but you had no idea where everything else was going. Granted, he had a wipeout slider, but still, it's like that's kind of what you have to look at too. And then you look at guys like this, where I'm looking at it on Twitter right now, courtesy of the Bat Bros, where you've got Charlie Condon, 26 nukes, Caglione at 23. So, and then you got Brandon Montgomery at 22. That's three SEC guys. Then you drop down for home run leaders. You've got Tanner Talk from UNC Wilmington with 21, and then you got a guy from Austin Pay in Lyle Miller Green with 20, and then another A&M guy. You've got two guys from non-power fives who are UNC Wilmington finds their way into the tournament every single year. I love watching UNC Wilmington play because they're a team that you never know what's going to happen. They haven't made it to Omaha, but they're a team like Wright State. You got just a bunch of guys that are there playing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. Isn't it might be a hot take to some, might be a fucking realistic take to others. I have no idea.
I would think it's more of a realistic take, and I think this year has been the biggest proof of that because you look at teams that have been winning midweek games against big Power Five schools, especially against the SEC. You look at a team like, granted, they're in a Power Five conference, but Cal just swept Oregon State in the
Mm-hmm.
Pac-12, and Cal is not a big. They used to be a decent baseball school, but they've kind of fallen off the map. USC took over, UCLA, Oregon State found their run again. So now it's like you're looking at some of these smaller schools that are getting these good defensive guys, getting these better. I can't say better overall talent guys, but better when it comes down to kind of a clutch situation type of guy, if that makes
Mm-hmm.
sense.
Mm-hmm. 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 I know what you mean.
He knows what I mean. He does, he does, he does. Well,
Kind
I have two. Oh, also, before I get into this topic, I don't know if you saw it. TCU just released for this week
Oh yeah,
their new unis. What's your take on them?
I haven't really looked at him. I know JD's a a big fan of it. He sent an interesting text message with it earlier today.
So for those of y'all who can see on the screen right now, if you're watching the YouTube, that is the jerseys. It's a cream white, all purple hat, but it is the good old Spanish version of a horn frog. I actually am kind of digging it. Not gonna lie. It says, and I'm gonna butcher the hell out of this.
Yeah, yeah.
Raños Cornudas. Well, yep. To be honest, if I accidentally butchered that, I'm sorry. If not, then oh well. But yeah, so the Horned Frogs released a new Spanish take on their uniforms. I'm digging it. I like the style, and I'm also just a sucker for the good old kind of like throwback style jerseys where it's super simple, but it's got a nice design to it.
Mm, I think they look cool.
Mikey's
I
not
don't
digging.
think any. I really like the Baltimore Orioles City Connect ones.
Dude, the all black
The
ones.
all blacks.
Oh, they are so just clean looking.
I wish more schools had more jersey options instead of just like the normal
I
like
kind of do
team.
as well.
You know, they could do so many cool things with it.
And it really sucks because college football gets all those alternate uniforms, and then like baseball, basketball kind of get missed with them. And I feel like it's a little bit harder to try to do some of those designs. But I mean, shit, Nike has been producing jerseys for a lot of big schools, and finally they're starting to kind of do a little bit more of this, which is nice. I like to see it. I like the personality and the play in the schools and the game, so I'm here for it 100%.
Yeah, like Oregon. I feel like Oregon's the only other school that does it for all sports, but that's
Yeah,
because
it's Oregon.
yeah, I don't know. It'd be cool to see though.
I think it would be really cool to see Kentucky's black uniforms. Those are kind of nice as well. I like those ones.
Or like Tennessee's charcoals
The charcoal grays are super, super clean. It's a good mix.
or ECU's like lavender that they got.
That one took me for a loop when I first saw those, and then it kind of grew on me, and I'm digging it.
Elite stuff. I'm telling you.
I would love to see ECU come to Omaha and break out the labs.
Yeah, they've got to get here first.
That's what I'm saying. I would love to see it.
They're real
Oh,
good, and then the postseason starts, and they're like, not this year.
well, and that is kind of one of the biggest like fluke stories that we've seen in college baseball. And I can't really say fluke, but it's one of the single-handed teams that seems to have a consistent season, consistent record every single year. Gets to the type where they're hosted in Greensboro, they're doing all this, and then they just shit the bed.
Correct.
And I hate seeing it because and it's kind of like Dallas Baptist too, especially within the last at least 6 years for Dallas Baptist. They've been consistently doing that.
Yeah, I don't know. It's I'd love to see some new people here this year.
I would as well.
Like
I,
8 new teams would be legit.
I don't think you're gonna get 8 new teams. I would love to see
Absolutely
that.
not.
It would be it'd be nice to see like a team like although I did like seeing Wake Forest, that could kind of count as a new team. They really haven't been there a whole lot within the last at least decade. East Carolina would be a team I would like to see. Duke would
Yeah,
be
but I want to
good.
see like Dallas Baptist,
UC
freaking
Irvine.
Georgia, UC Irvine, Louisiana,
Give me Indiana
ECU.
State.
Like just I want 8 teams that have never been here.
Yep.
That would be some elite stuff.
That would be honestly pretty kick ass to see that happen.
It would be. But
Time will tell, my man. Time will
I
tell.
think you get 4 weeks until the conference tournaments.
That's
3 or 4.
crazy to think that it's been this far.
I know. It's been fast.
Well,
But that
Mikey,
means you're gonna have good baseball coming.
that
Even
is
better.
true, especially with the last couple of weeks here in conference play. And speaking
Mhm.
of good baseball being played, I've got two options for the good old
Oh, you're taking it over?
big pimpin' player of the week. Well, Josh is not here because he hates us, so I'm gonna do it
Correct.
this week.
Correct. Okay. I can get behind this.
All right. Both players officially coming out of the SEC. That is, I'm sorry. I don't want to throw any more bias to the SEC, but we kind of have to. First player would be Caglione from good old Florida, going 9 straight bombs in 9 games. Or we've got this one from good old Tennessee, good old Christian Moore, who this week was unstoppable with the bat. He had a .879 OBA, 9 hits, 4 bombs, 12 total bases, and 9 ribbies.
I think we
Or
should give
1
it to
double, sorry.
somebody who. I think we should give it to somebody who's never had it from a school we don't know.
From a school we don't know. This is going to take a lot of research.
So wait, who's the second guy?
Oh, Christian Moore from Tennessee.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that one.
Go
Maybe
him.
because I don't want Florida to succeed.
All right. Christian Moore, congratulations. You're the No Place Like Homaha Big Pimpin' Player of the Week.
Yeah, dude. I just had
Solid,
a
bro.
key fly off my keyboard and I don't know where it went.
Oh, Lord. Here we go. Mikey is losing everything, losing his marbles.
There's one way of putting it.
Well, for the midweek games coming up, to break down the schedule, because we have the free version of Zoom this week because Josh is not hosting, because we're
He hates
trying
us.
to, yeah, he hates us. We'll start with Tuesday's schedule, looking at some games here. Going down the list, number 7, East Carolina takes on North Carolina State. That is a 7 versus 21 matchup. Duke has Campbell. Campbell would be another good team that I would love to see come to Omaha. Love the fighting Camels.
Yeah.
Virginia's got Liberty, 14 versus an unranked Liberty. Wake Forest, Elon, Tennessee also plays Western Carolina. Trying to look to see if there are any other big games. We got Creighton taking on Coastal Carolina. That one could be an interesting game with Creighton, especially coming off a big win against Nebraska last week. UC Irvine, 12th ranked Anteaters go to UCLA. Clemson and Georgia take off on Tuesday as well, 5 versus 20. And Oklahoma State, Oral Roberts would be another good game to watch on Tuesday. We'll throw it all the way to the good old Thursday matchup and start into our conference plays for the week. Virginia's got Boston College. Alabama goes to Oxford to take on the running Rebels of Ole Miss. BYU goes to Stillwater against the 15th ranked Cowboys, Oklahoma State. And Missouri has Tennessee, which could be potentially life-threatening to Tennessee if they lose the series. We talked about it earlier. Missouri playing pretty tough this season, but still a little bit lower on the totem pole. Purdue has Northwestern for all you Big Ten fans out there, even though
Gross.
we also need a ranking or an update for some of these teams. We have not done that in a hot minute.
For who?
For Siena, Northwestern, Iona.
All those teams have wins.
They do. We do not have a winless team anymore. Coming up this weekend for other big conference plays, North Carolina hosts the 23-ranked Hokies of Virginia Tech starting on Friday. Duke has Florida State in town. Clemson and Louisville square off. Louisville has been a team that has been super, super quiet this season. West Virginia and Baylor. Baylor coming off of a big series win, trying to silence the haters, being the last team in the Big 12. Wake Forest has Notre Dame. Southern Miss has the Raging Cajuns of Louisiana, 14th ranked Raging Cajuns. Dallas Baptist takes on Florida International. Georgia goes to College Station. The 24th ranked Bulldogs take on the number 1 team in the land in the Aggies. Kentucky's got a tough South Carolina team. Florida, Arkansas. East Carolina's got Memphis. Oregon and Oregon State square off, 5 versus 16. And Mississippi State, Vanderbilt, Arizona, Washington, I believe that rallies out all of our ranked games. We'll throw it all the way to the Big Ten as well, just to get a couple of our good old Nebraska fans in there, coming off a big win against Maryland for the series this weekend. They have Iowa coming to town in Lincoln.
Gross.
Yep. Good old Iowa
Iowa
taking
fan,
down.
you are.
What'd you say?
A big old Iowa fan, you are.
Nah, I'd rather see the Big Red get a series win there, especially a big sweep. That'd be insane.
To be the big cool, as the kids say.
Well, Mike,
well,
do we got anything else to go over for the good old folks today?
Just watched Texas suck against TCU this last weekend. Old Dominion's still elite, getting gypped. JD doesn't love us.
JD does not love us, no.
I think that's it.
Do we got any new sponsors for the week?
No, nobody reached out to me today.
Nobody reached out to you. Nobody's advertisement came with a nice mix up.
Mm-mm.
Damn, that's tough.
I know. It was a rough week.
Well, we got our good old sponsors. Shout out to good old Cronio Media for helping us produce this show, get in and out. And I still got to get some audio files to him as well. You got this. Yeah, I know. We're working for it. Also, shout out to Dubby and Shank It Golf. If you need some pre-workout stuff and just some extra, oomph in the weight room, go check out Dubby and go check out some stylish looking clothes on Shank It Golf. Use Cronio Media for 10% off.
Yeah. What he said.
I rolled that.
Elite,
I did pretty good at that shit.
elite advertisements.
Elite advertisement. Mikey advertising the good old Marcus movie theater.
Sometimes it wants to clip in.
Every once in a blue moon, the $5 Tuesdays come out.
Yeah. We're not sponsored by them. They don't
No.
us.
No. But anyways, without further ado, thank you guys for joining this episode of No Place Like Homaha with a good conversation from good old Dr. Love. And
We'll see ya. We'll see ya.
We see ya. Now I gotta try to figure out how to end this podcast.
You just hit stop.
Stop. All right. Peace out,
Do it.
folks.